All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Stark Game Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 310 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you're live streaming, podcasting, YouTubing, whatever the hell you're doing and getting a part of this show, and however you're being a part of this show. We want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time as we have an awesome show. I'm going to say awesome one more time. I feel like Tim Tebow in his Jets interview when he's like, I'm just so excited. I am so excited today, guys, because we have an exciting show for you guys today, because we are going to be talking about the draft, yes, once again, and the final time, at least when it comes to what we are foreseeing or forecasting what's going to happen with the Chiefs in this draft, how we see things happening, what Trevor and I want to see happen personally can be very different. We have no idea. Trevor and I have no idea. You guys know the rules around here, man. We do not talk about things before production. Pre-production, we give, little tidbits here and there about, hey, man, heads up for this, heads up for that, preparation, but we never give our predictions on anything before we get on the show, because we want you guys to experience our reactions live. We want to experience together, because this is a community show, and I'll get to that right now as to what that means, because if you guys have not already done it, I would hope that we tell you the top, we tell you the bottom of every single show. Go to youtube.com, go to the Spoken Podcast, hit share, subscribe, notify, all those different buttons they have for you to push. We appreciate every single one of you guys for doing that have already done it, and for those that are about to do it. But the biggest, most important button we need you to push is the comment button, because while we're doing the show, we want you to be a part of the show. We want you to be the biggest part of the show. We started, we end it, but the middle part of it is where we need you guys to do the work. And I know that sounds nuts to say that on a Saturday, because I know you guys are probably resting your bones, and trust me, Trevor are doing the exact same thing. But we need you guys to have some fun with us today. We want to have fun with you. Give us your takes, questions, comments, concerns, whatever you guys have for us. We want to talk as much as possible with you guys today about all things Chiefs, all things NFL, all things draft. NBA playoffs are starting. There's some great stuff going on, man. Major League Baseball's in full swing. The MMA is having some great cards. There's so much to talk about. Whatever you guys want to talk about, let's freaking talk about it, man. I mean, freaking Ovechkin just broke Gretzky's scoring record a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, whatever it was. Let's talk about it. Let's have some takes, man. Let's do some stuff, man. Let's have a good Saturday here. It's raining in Kansas City anyway, so you ain't going outside. It's cold according to some. I love this weather personally, but we're here. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about some things. Trevor, how the hell you doing, man? Are you having a good week? Are you having a good week? Are you having a good weekend so far?
It's been a good week, been a good week, been a good weekend so far, as you would say. No, man, it's been great. This weather, it was warm this week.
Yeah.
Your boy got burnt this week. I look like
Crispy.
a lobster man out there, detailing cars and whatnot. But it's been a good week, man. It's been had a nice little time last night with the family, hanging out, smoking some stogies,
having some pops,
some good quality time. Yeah, so man, looking forward to the draft this coming week. Man, that's about it, bro.
Yep, I'm right lockstep with you on that, man. I think that and shout out to Ruben and Cruz already in the chat, ready for some of our regulars to pop in. Like I said, guys, go ahead as soon as you pop in, start chiming in. Trevor will get those comments on the screen as soon as you guys pop them on there. We just want to have a fun time with you guys. Have a great show. Whatever you guys, like I said, want to talk about, we emphasize that every single week, because we also have in the middle of our show a segment called Speak It. For those that don't know, get your questions in now as well. Don't just have takes. If you have questions, too, about what we see happening in this or anything related to sports, go ahead and drop it in there now. Trevor will save that for now, and then we'll get to that in the middle of the show. Do you have a comment, Trev?
Just our guy Shaggy Shane's chiming in saying, nice flag, Trevor. Hey, Shaggy's always looking out, man. He's checking on your boy, the aesthetically pleasing. Listen, I know it's been rough in the background, Shaggy, and Shaggy's definitely let me know behind the scenes, and I appreciate it.
Guantanamo Bay is very
father
difficult.
figure to us over here. It's
Yeah.
trying to check on his sons, man. So I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shaggy.
I'm in San Quentin.
I'm trying, man.
Trevor's in Guantanamo Bay. They keep transferring them out to new prisons. So
man.
yeah, it's like Prison Break, but it's like a podcast version. So I hope you guys are enjoying us from our no freedom zones, if you will, guys. It's very tough to get favors around here. So whenever we get a Chiefs flag like this in our prison cells,
yeah, my inmate's actually sleeping behind that flag. That's his bunk behind there. So I just figured I'd give him some privacy while I do the show live.
We're trying to keep it low because
Yeah.
he's kind of a big guy, kind of a scary man. So, but you shut up back there. So without further ado, man, let's just get right into this thing. I'm ready to sink the teeth in, man. Let's get this thing going. Without further ado, it is time for Lance Rants. All right, so there's been so much back and forth this offseason in particular as to what the Chiefs are going to do in this draft. I think that most years previous, we've had a real sense of where the Chiefs are going to go, what direction they're headed, what the trend is, or, you know, the cat kind of gets out of the bag pretty quick as far as where we see the Chiefs going in the draft. I think there's been some unpredictable aspects to the way Veach attacks the draft, but I think he's also been very predictable in how he goes about it on a normal basis. We know that Brett Veach is a guy that very much believes in building his roster from the draft. He's one of those GMs, and that's the smartest way to doing it if you're trying to continue to build a dynasty and maintain a dynasty. You don't want to go out there and be the biggest spender in the offseason because, as we know, the teams that usually do that are teams that do not make the playoffs. They are not contenders. What they're trying to do is keep relevancy. They're trying to keep their fans interested by going and getting big names, interesting players, guys that maybe past their prime, but you know what? The fans want to buy his jersey. They know this guy. They like this guy. But we know the true winners, the teams that win Super Bowls or at least are in contention every year are teams that hit in the draft. This is the biggest reason why the Chiefs have been who they are for the last 7-8 years, is because they have drafted so damn well. And that is credit to Veach. That is credit to Andy Reid for trusting Brett Veach, because we know that Andy Reid relinquished that responsibility, because we know back in Philadelphia, Andy was doing both. It was a trend that I think that Mike Holmgren kind of started, who was, you know, obviously Andy Reid's biggest inspiration. You know, he was an understudy to Holmgren and back in Green Bay, and we know that Holmgren liked to do those things. He did that in Seattle. He did that in Green Bay. And look, I'm not saying some guys can't do it. I'm not even saying Andy Reid couldn't do it, but that's just a lot of responsibility for one man. And we saw that Bill Belichick started to struggle with that mightily in his later years with the Patriots, where he was not drafting Pro Bowlers anymore. I think the last offensive player that was a Pro Bowler for the Patriots in the Belichick era was Rob Gronkowski. And he got drafted in 2011, I believe. So what I'm saying is you got to have a guy at that position, at the GM position, that knows talent. This is why, I mean, let's be real. John Dorsey handled it a lot differently, but John Dorsey knew talent. And I know our Starcade guys are loving that right now because they're big Dorsey dudes, and I was a big Dorsey guy. Yeah. But the thing that I think separates Brett Veach is that he's so damn good at finding those diamonds in the rough. That's where Dorsey was just not good at. He would swing horribly and miss horribly in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th rounds. But he would find a badass like Chris Jones. You know, he would find those guys in the early rounds that you just, okay, this guy that was a great pick. You know, he just knew how to do those types of things. He goes and gets Kareem Hunt, Patrick Mahomes. Now, again, we know Veach is the guy that told him to go get Patrick Mahomes. So we always equate that to, or credit that to Brett Veach. But John Dorsey did pull the trigger. He could ultimately said, fuck you, I'm not doing it, and went somewhere else. Didn't do it. He trusted Brett Veach, and he made that happen. The point I'm trying to make is the Chiefs have had very good talent evaluators at the top. And I think that this is going to be another one of those drafts where Brett Veach has the opportunity to really reset, or not reset, but restock what the Chiefs are trying to do. Now, you guys know where I stand on this. My entire belief on this draft in particular, because if you look at it, this isn't one of those star-studded drafts. This isn't one of those drafts where you have these humongous names that are coming out, quarterbacks, wide receivers, you know, that everybody knows about. I mean, yes, Shedeur Sanders is a star. Travis Hunter is a freak. Abdul Carter's probably going to be a monster in this league. But there's not this litany of names where we're usually accustomed to having And I actually think that's a blessing in disguise for the Chiefs because of the fact that the Chiefs don't need to be going after the big names in free agency, and they sure as hell I don't think need to be doing that in the draft. I think this is one of those drafts where the Chiefs need to do what they can to get as many picks as possible and take as many bites of the apple as possible to refill and restock this roster. Because if you look at the way the roster is presented right now, guys, there is a list of names of star players or guys that are making a lot of money that will probably be gone in 2026. You're looking at Travis Kelce. This will probably be his last season, if not close to the end of his career. Juwan Taylor, coming off of nearly $20 million in cap hits this year. This is his final season with the Chiefs. They're not like our guy 𝚂𝙿𝙸 from the Chief Concerns podcast said last week. The Chiefs are not refiguring out a contract with Juwan Taylor. He's just simply not good enough to do that. So they're going to move off of him. Then you look at Charles Omenihu, plays another key position at a premium place at defensive end. 1-year deal. George Karlaftis is going to be due for a contract. Are they going to pay him? Trent McDuffie's coming up on a contract. Are they going to pay him? I mean, there is just and I can keep going on, guys. I mean, Drew Tranquil, will he be back in 2026? Leo Chanel, will he be back, in 2026? There's a list of guys, Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson. There's so many names I can just keep naming that may be gone in 2026. So this is a draft that is not just for 2025. This is for the next 3 to 4 years. And I think the Chiefs need to take this draft and do everything they possibly can to make this as close to the 2022 draft. This is by far Brett Veach's best draft. But what is coincidentally, why was it his best draft? Because he had as many picks as he wanted to do what he wanted with. And he took all those stabs, all those bites of the apple, and landed him 6-7 legitimate players. That's what they need to get, because I didn't even mention Isaiah Pacheco. He will not be back in 2026 unless he has some unforeseen great season in 2025. Unless that happens where he has a record year where he rushes for 1,400 yards, plays all 16, 17 games, unless that's the case, the Chiefs are going to have a new starting running back, maybe even in 2025. So when we look at all these things, we see this roster not thin at all. This roster's not thin. This is a very good roster. But for the foreseeable future, there are question marks moving forward as to who will be back and who will be playing on the roster that's currently on it for the next 2 to 3 years. So this is why they need to develop guys now, because as we know, Andy Reid, especially on the offensive side, loves to develop guys in their rookie seasons, kind of lets them sit back and watch other guys and maybe not have as big of a role. You saw Xavier Worthy, how it took him half a season. Rashee Rice took him half a season. Travis Kelce didn't even play his rookie season due to an injury. It took him a couple years to develop into the guy that he is. We've seen this throughout time of the Andy Reid era. So if we're wanting those guys to be here on rookie deals, what better way to do it, guys, than to go get yourself a bunch of picks in the middle of this draft and take stabs at positions of need for the next 2 to 4 years? That's the best way I see this happening. And so, I felt like I was kind of alone in that boat. I know Trevor's been kind of jumping a little bit more towards that side, and we'll figure out where he stands on this. But the guy that matters the most in all of this, in all respects, sounds to me like he actually agrees with where I'm standing on this. And we saw the Arrowhead Pride article come out a couple of days ago in regards to Brett Veach's identifying the NFL's draft's deepest positions. And look, I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that happen all the time. Brett Veach plays his role in that all the time. We know he does GM speak very well. But I also see when it comes to Brett Veach, I always listen to, and I told Trevor this before, and I've said this on the show before, I listen to tonality. I listen to the way he addresses or presents his take on things. Brett, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Brett's a very good liar. And I think that's a good and bad thing when it comes to being a GM. Because obviously you're a salesman. You're trying to sell the fan base on what you're trying to do, but you're also trying to avoid the competitors that are watching and listening to your every move not pick up on what you're trying to do, is what I'm saying. And so it's a very tough balancing act. And I don't envy his job whatsoever, because it's a very, very tough job. But I listened to his tonality, and we don't have the recordings of this, but I did listen to the recordings, and then I read this from Arrowhead Pride to get you guys the actual quotes. But I'm gonna read the article, and then I'll tell Trev to drop his quotes when we get there. But this is from Arrowhead Pride. Less than a week from now, the Kansas City Chiefs will gather the league's other 31 teams for the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Over the past several months, pundits have been lukewarm on this season's class, particularly noting its lack of star talent. And when Kansas City General Manager Brett Veach spoke to local media on Thursday, he seemed to agree, at least with the regard of players he and his staff have identified as first-round prospects. Let's put up the first quote, Trevor. Quote, "It's probably a tick down," he revealed. "I think typically in years past, that number has been anywhere from 15 to 18, even 19 first-round grades. I think the last time I checked this year, it was down 12 to 13. So it is lower. Although I will say this, in that second wave of guys that are in the late first round, high 2 consideration, that number's probably a little higher. So hopefully that provides a little bit more flexibility on both ends." Veach understands that with this Chiefs first selection at 31st overall, it will be harder for the team to acquire one of these coveted players. But if an opportunity arises, he is ready to be aggressive, just as in the 2022 draft when he traded up from the 29th to 21st. Quote, let's go and put that second one up there, Trevor, if we can. Quote, "I think we have a pretty consistent game plan year in and year out," he explained. "And if one of those guys, however unlikely it is, that we have in that 12 to 13 or 14 number range, if they were to fall in a responsible or reasonable landing spot, I'm sure we'd make some calls. Typically, it's unlikely to happen, but we all know a few years ago it did happen with Trent McDuffie," end quote. While the class doesn't have many first-round prospects, the Chiefs' overall draft board appears to have plenty of depth. Let's throw that third one up there. Quote, I think we have 202 players on the board," noted Veach, "which is maybe a tick high, but we've been anywhere from 85 to 210 over the years. I think we have plenty of names to work with, and hopefully we're able to execute our game plan as the names come off, working those position groups throughout the course of the 3 days," end quote. Echoing draft media, Veach believes many good running backs will be available. Quote, "It's probably the deepest class in the draft," he said. "I think you can get a really good player from round 1 through round 5. Look, with all these players, you're a few bad weeks away from having no depth at all. Last year, Pacheco got hurt early on, and we always wanted to surround Patrick Mahomes with playmakers," end quote. Citing yet another change to the league's kickoff rules, Veach hopes that any running back or wide receiver the team could get will help in the return game. Quote, and this is the next slide, "Ideally," he continued, "it would be advantageous for us to identify a receiver and or a running back that has explosive playmaking ability at both ends. We're always pushing the envelope to get a 1% better, and if we can add another dynamic element to both return phases, that would be something that makes sense," end quote. And Veach believes Kansas City can find players like that. This is the next quote here, guys. "They're all really good," he said, "and the discrepancies between the running back you have in the 4th or 5th is really close. Or 4th or 3rd is really close. I think it's a good likelihood that one of those players ends up on our roster," end quote. The 2025 draft has also been lauded for its depth at defensive line, and Veach shares that view too. Here's the next quote. "I think that's probably driven more by the depth at D end," he clarified. "I think there's a lot of D ends. Running back is certainly, I think, the deepest class in the draft. A close second would be D end. I think the interior defensive line numbers are better than most years, but I don't think they come anywhere close to the D end depth and the cornerback depth. I think those two positions, you look at the board, and those names come from the top to bottom. Corner, I think, is actually decent in the middle rounds. I think D-line is okay, but I don't think that it's any more than anyone in particular. I think where you're getting your big numbers from to top to bottom are D-end and running back. Cornerback, I think, is a little bit meatier in the middle. For receivers, every year you're going to have numbers, but it's just the vision and the plan and how you're going to utilize those guys within your offense. Last year was an extraordinary class, and there were so many receivers taken high. I don't think you're going to see that this year, but you'll see receivers taken every round just because there's always plentiful in regards to numbers." End quote. So there's a lot there, guys. I know that was a lot of talking, but I wanted to give the entire scope of where I believe Brett Veach is at when it comes to this draft in particular. And I think there's a lot of truth in what he's saying here. I think he's being very intentional with what he's saying. And I do believe that he stands true to where he's saying about the DN position, the running back position, and how deep he thinks that is. Which is why I do believe the Chiefs are going to take those positions in the middle rounds. I do believe you're going to see cornerback be another position they take very seriously in this draft because, again, and I know you guys hate it when I bring it up, I even got called out last night in person, which was hilarious. Trent McDuffie still hasn't gotten his money. So there is a plan in place that I think Brett Veach does have if, in fact, they can't figure out a deal with Trent McDuffie. And this is a cornerback draft. He is right. Everybody I've talked to that knows the draft has talked about cornerback being a very deep, especially in the rounds 2 to 4 range, being a very deep draft class. So I'm not shocked at all that Brett Veach is a fan of those three positions in particular. But see, the one I want you to focus on the most, guys, is the interior defensive line. When he said he likes it, especially at the top, but it's not anywhere deeper than any other position, really. So that tells me what? That's the position I think that Brett Veach is going to be focusing on the most when it comes to their first pick. I have stood by that now for over 2 months. And you guys know, I have very much been the guy that for the last 3 to 4 years that has said offensive tackle, and in particular left tackle, has to be where the Chiefs answer. They need to trade up and get the best guy possible. The part that sucks about this, guys, is this isn't the draft for that. The Chiefs are not going to be able to trade down far enough to get a guy that is going to be a starting left tackle day one. They just signed Jalen Moore to a 2-year deal. Sounds like they're confident enough that he can be the guy. We'll find out, obviously, because we simply don't know enough about him. And he's a former 5th-round pick. So the Chiefs have what option here? They could stay pat at 31 and use the 8 picks they have and have no 5th-round pick. Maybe they try to trade, with a 6th-round pick or 2026 pick, try to move into the 5th like our guy Tasia Dash suggested. Or the Chiefs decide we're going to get as many picks as we possibly can because we just don't believe this first round is star-ridden, and we can move back some spots. And like I've been saying, take as many bites of the apple as we can, get 5+ picks in the first top 100, and then see how many guys we can get that can become something on this team over the next 2 to 4 years. That's where I think Brett Veach's mind is at. I would love nothing more, guys, than for the Chiefs to be in a position to go and get the first, second, or third best left tackle in this draft. I know that there's a lot of people that want the Chiefs to do that. They just simply do not have the picks to make that happen. The Chiefs, what they're not going to do in this position is trade 2 to 3 picks, go and try to get one of the best left tackles in this draft, and then have 4 or 5 picks left for the rest of the draft. That's just not Brett Veach's way. Unless he's going and trading for a guy who's already been proven in this league, or they believe is going to be a guy like they did with Orlando Brown Jr., that pick is not moving, at least forward, maybe backward. And that's actually where I stand. And you know what's funny, Trevor, is that, oddly enough, the people agreed with me as well. Because if you look at the poll there, let's go ahead and put that up there. Gotcha. I put this up here just a few days ago, guys. Which would you prefer Veach to do in the draft? Trade up, have fewer picks, sit put, or trade back and get more picks? 41% of you said trade back and get more picks. It sounds to me like you guys understand what the assignment is here. It sounds to me like 41% of you guys understand that this team may not have a lot of immediate needs, but within a year's time, they're going to have a whole lot of them. And we need to know who's going to be the ones that fill those roles. Because we also know that Brett Veach is not one of those guys that spends a ton of money in the offseason. At least not in several different positions. And I just listed you guys off about 7 positions that the Chiefs are going to have free agents at in a year's time. So you might as well get some dudes to backfill and become maybe not day one starters, but guys that if there are injuries or if guys that move on in free agency in the next year or two can become the guy that fulfill those roles because they have that NFL experience already there. All of you guys, almost all of you guys, have been telling me since 2017 that the right move was to have Patrick Mahomes sit on the bench and watch Alex Smith. If that's the case with Patrick freaking Mahomes, how much more so for a guy that's a 3rd-round cornerback or a 2nd-round defensive lineman or a 4th-round edge rusher? How much more important is it for those guys? Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, was ready day one. These guys won't be, at least the majority of them. But if you want to get them to be an understudy and understand the game as much as they can before they become a guy, or at least have the opportunity to become the guy, what better way than to learn under 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺𝙴? What better way to learn than behind Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt? Guys that have won, at least when it comes to Pacheco, has won multiple Super Bowls. As a 7th-round pick, I might add. What better way to learn than to be right next to Chris Jones and play on 3rd downs and give him, take some pressure off him every once in a while. And he can teach you some things, some tactical moves. Sit next to Karlaftis. There is so much that you can learn from playing next to these guys or behind these kind of guys. Super Bowl caliber, Super Bowl winning players. Guys that have done this thing at a high level and higher level than most. That's the way I'm envisioning this draft. That's the way I see the Chiefs attacking this draft, Trevor. So if you want to add something to that, Trevor, when it comes to the way you heard Veach's words, I mean, fire away, man, because I that's the way I took it. I heard some of my buddies like D-Mac Wakefield, shout out to him, one of the smartest dudes when it comes to this draft in the Chiefs community. But him and I saw it completely different. He saw it as, and I don't want to put words in D-Mac's mouth, but this is a conversation we had on Twitter where D-Mac said, well, based on what I'm hearing from Brett Veach, he's going to trade up. I heard it the complete opposite. I heard it as, this man does not truly see that opportunity in the first round. Therefore, he's going to say, you know what, let's get out of the first round. Someone's going to want to come back into the first round. If a quarterback falls like a Jackson Dart, or maybe even a Shedeur Sanders by some wild coincidence, he falls, and let's say the Rams, who have 12 picks, they take their pick at 26 and say, you know what, let's get back into the first round. Let's trade with the Chiefs. Let's give them 2 or 3 picks, and let's get our quarterback of the future behind a 37-year-old Matt Stafford. You know what I mean? Like, those are scenarios I see. Or another team that I have on my predictions that I can see maybe because they're going to be coming out of their quarterback in a year. Maybe they want to get their quarterback at 31 because he might fall. A Jackson Dart, like I said, somebody like that. There are opportunities, or a guy that we just don't see falling that falls that they want to add to the equation. I think that Brett Veach is seeing that as his true opportunity to build his team in this draft. How did you hear those words?
Yeah, I mean, I try to take everything GMs say with a grain of salt, because it could be, like you said, it could be him just being absolutely honest, or having a terrible poker face, like you said, or him just, trying to angle something for, to try to, because he understands the sway and the movement that the Chiefs can have, and the effect that the Chiefs can have on what they do in the draft for every other team, how the other teams are going to make decisions because it's the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean, I think he's just honestly, my personal opinion on this article and what he was saying on there was, I think this is just him just being honest and how he sees it at face value. Does it make me feel like he's going to trade up? No, it doesn't make me, because I understand he was talking about the lack of depth at the defensive line and edge rush kind of positions. As far as like the talent pool being pretty thin there, pretty shallow. That doesn't tell me that he's going to trade up for a guy like that to go get his guy. Because I don't know if there is that 1 or 2 guys that it's like a kind of a have to have it kind of guy in this draft. I think there's several, but then again, depending on how the draft starts too, can completely change your entire game plan. We know how that goes. And say a certain position you didn't expect to go so quick is flying off the shelves. Yep. You have to adjust, right? So then you start talking best player available at a position you didn't think would be there. You're like, fuck, this incredible corner is still sitting here. We thought he was going to go in the top 15, 20 picks, and now he's here at the top of the second. What do we do here? You know? So that's why I love the unpredictability of the NFL draft. That's what makes the NFL draft the best draft in sports. There's no other thing like it. It's much more of a spectacle than any other sport. Because of the excitement, because the wheeling and dealing and the trades and things like that. And for me, I'm with you. I think it shows that Brett Veach is talking about maybe possibly moving back and trying to collect some more assets, because he was gloating on the middle rounds so much with DBs and corners and the talent pool there. That's kind of, and running backs in the mid to later rounds, because he's proven that's kind of been a strategy. Or does he flip it? And that he has a track record of doing the things he was just describing. Does he flip it? Does he do something that's out of the ordinary for him because he sees a guy that he thinks that he has to have? Right. Who knows? But the way I'm looking at it, the way I read it with Veach's words is I think that's just his personal upfront face value of what he really truly thinks and sees in this draft. But then again, man, Veach is aggressive. If something happens, if a guy's fallen and Veach starts getting sweaty palms, he's like, listen, I think I'm going to pull the trigger on this guy and makes a move. I wouldn't be surprised by that either, because he's a deal maker, man. That guy's out there wheeling and dealing. So That's I mean, I'm sticking to that. I think that's where he's at. Like our guy G-Pick says, didn't say a damn thing about safety. All smoke and mirrors. We are drafting Emanwari. LOL.
Well,
that's not happening, but
yeah,
I can see your
if
angle
they didn't
there.
get Jaden Hicks in the 4th round last year, I would agree with him. I think that what happens is the Chiefs are gonna do what they've been doing for the last 6 years. They're gonna sign a veteran safety. I don't think they've gotten that guy. Well, they get Mike Edwards, so maybe that's their veteran for this year. And then they're gonna have those young understudies, and I think Jaden Hicks is gonna be that star safety. I think he's going to
get the shot to be.
Well, and to your point, real quick, Charles, I want to address what you said because I think you're actually 100% correct that Brett Veach really cooks in those middle rounds, and I mean the proven track record is there, guys. I mean, look, obviously 2024, we really can't talk about that draft class yet because we haven't seen them develop into what they're going to be. We got to give them at least 2 years. But I mean, look at 2023. He got himself Rashee Rice, Chamari Connor in the 2nd and 4th rounds. In the 2nd round of 2022, he got Brian Cook, 3rd round Leo Chenal, 4th round Joshua Williams, 7th round Jalen Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, and then in 2021, Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
5th round got Noah Gray, and then the 6th round got Trey Smith. 2020, 2nd round he got Willie Gay. 3rd round he got or 4th round he got L'Jarius Sneed. 5th round he got Mike Dana. 2019, 2nd round he got McCole Hardman, Juan Thornhill. 3rd round, he got Colin Saunders, and 7th round, he got Nick Allegretti. So, like, that's a list of, that's 11, 12 guys that Brett Veach has drafted that have been starters for the majority of their careers or not star players for the majority of their careers after the 1st round. So, it's been a blessing in disguise the Chiefs have not drafted so early in the draft, in the 1st round, because they also happen to have a GM that knows how to draft after. Because, like I said, there's guys like John Dorsey that are so good at nailing the star player early in the draft. If you have a top 20 pick, more likely that dude's going to find that like badass Hall of Fame type dude, or within the first 30 to 40 picks. But Veach is one of those guys that finds the value guys. And those are the guys because they're also cheaper on their rookie deals, which brings down all the cap hits and all those other things. So you're going to be able to control those guys for 4 years and not pay them next to anything. I mean, look at the money they're not paying Isaiah Pacheco. Look at the money they were not paying L'Jarius Sneed. Look, it goes down the list.
Value-based drafting is how you sustain success.
Yes.
For sure.
And that's the way I think Veach is going to continue to do this, which is why I've adopted the mentality, because when John Dorsey was the GM, I thought of things so much differently. I thought pay high dollar to cornerback, go up and try to get as many early picks as possible, which I know everybody realistically wants, but that's not a reality for everybody. So when it comes to Veach, it's don't pay cornerback and get as many mid-round picks as you possibly can. It's a completely different way of thinking, but it's been working, and it has been sustaining the life of this team even when they have the worst wide receiver room in the league, even when they have the worst left tackle in the league. It doesn't matter because what? You have the greatest quarterback in the league with the best head coach and a bunch of young, talented understudies that no one else really thought was going to be anything, like Isaiah Pacheco, like some of these other guys.
It allows us to draft differently than everybody else.
Yes.
For sure.
Exactly. So that is why I am, and I'm going to kick it off right here, Trevor, because I want the people to know where I stand on this to be official. I want to show them the trade scenario that I have for the Chiefs to get more picks in this draft. So if you look right here, guys, this is my trade scenario. I have the Chiefs trading the 31st pick to the Saints for the 40th, the 112th, and 184th overall picks. And what's funny about this draft pick, this trade, is this is a trade that was presented to me in my NFL mock draft database. I didn't even actually present this one at first. Then I tried to recreate it to see if it was fair, because sometimes these websites will give you ridiculous trades. Like I showed one last week, like, dude, there's no way you're getting that from the Rams. Yeah. You're right. So what I did is I recreated it, and the trade was dead even. So that means that, but based on the value of the scoring of the numbers, it was a dead even lock. So I made the trade. So this is the Saints, because I talked about there's going to be a team that's going to want to maybe move back in the 1st round and try to get a quarterback. Look at the situation with Derek Carr and how they moved up all his money. He's 34 years old. They're trying to move off of him. This will be his last year. Maybe they want to go and get their quarterback of the future, move up back into the 1st round, try to get a Jackson Dart. Maybe, like I said, if Shador somehow falls, they go and get their guy. And that is what I think the Chiefs are going to be a very valuable pick at 31, because it's the pick before the final pick of the 1st round. So you're getting in front of that 32nd overall pick. I think that's a realistic trade. The Chiefs get a couple mid-round picks out of it, as well as the 40th. And if you look at the bottom right here, the Panthers are getting the 66th overall pick from the Chiefs, but the Chiefs still get to stay in the third round at 74 and get another mid-round pick with a fourth-round pick. So now the Chiefs have what?
3 fourth-round picks?
3 fourth-round picks. And that way the Chiefs have maybe not a fifth-round pick, but if you have 3 fourth-round picks and 2 sixths, you're sitting pretty. You have everything you need right there. You don't need a fifth-round pick at that point. But even to 𝚂𝙿𝙸𝚂's point, the Chiefs could trade that Chicago fourth-round pick they got for Joe Thuney in 2026 and move into the fifth round this year if they really wanted to. Obviously, I didn't do that, but I'm saying that is a very strong possibility. And if that goes correctly, then 𝚂𝙿 nailed that one. So right where my mock draft scenario is, the Chiefs have, these are the draft picks they have. The 40th, 63rd, 74th, 95th, 112th, 114th, 133rd, 184th, 226th, 251st, and 257th. That gives them 11 picks. They had 12 picks initially in 2022. They traded 2 to get Trent McDuffie early in the draft. What my mock draft does here, Trevor, before I even give you guys my predictions on what they do with these 11 picks, is this gives them the option to do literally whatever they want. If they trade back at 40, they can also do what? Trade back in to the 30s. Because now they have 11 picks. So if there was, let's say, from some strange coincidence, a guy like Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon were to fall into the 30s by some strange coincidence, because it does happen. Guys fall and we never saw it coming. They can trade back into the 30s and use 2 of these picks, and they still have 9. They still have 9 picks, and they got the guy they didn't see falling, just like they did with Trent McDuffie. And what did Brett Veach say in that exact quote? He goes, if by some chance one of these 12, 13, 14 guys we have as first-round grades were to fall, we'll do that. Well, the same principle applies if they sit at 40 as opposed to 31. It's the same principle. So I could see that happening, man, where they trade that 40th pick in the 112th, and they say, hey, we'll move up. Give us that 36th overall pick with the Jaguars or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? So, but I'm gonna just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna have us sitting at 11 picks. Okay. So these are my and I don't know what you have going on, Trevor, but you just tell me what positions you have the Chiefs going with, how many picks you think they have. But I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys what I have right now. So at the 40th overall pick, I have the Chiefs going defensive line. I'm not budging off of that. I think that they know that there's only probably 5-6 guys tops at that position that's going to be a difference maker in this draft. So I'm just going to name just a couple guys that you don't have to name any names if you don't want, Trevor, but I have some names that I think could potentially be there. And again, it's unpredictable, so we have no idea. But if Walter Nolan was to fall, that's the guy that comes off my board immediately. I would love to have Walter Nolan on this team. Derek Harmon, obviously, is an absolute stud, and a lot of people like him as well out of Oregon. I would love Derek Harmon. Alfred Collins out of Texas. Shamar Turner, I don't know if he's going to fall because he's a very versatile player. So maybe he goes DN, maybe he goes defensive tackle. I don't know. He has that option. He may not fall that far, but if he does, oh my God, the Chiefs got to get him. So those are the 4 names I have coming off the board at 40, if they even are available. And again, we don't know. Then at 63, I have the Chiefs doubling down at defensive line. I got him going edge rush. Now, this is gonna be unpredictable as well, because edge rush is always a position that everybody goes after. So there could be none of these guys left, or they could be all still there. JT Tuimoloau, I think is how you say his name. Mike Green, Donovan Ezeruka, Princely Unamelina, Jordan Birch, Landon Jackson, Jack Sawyer. Those are some names you got to look out for. Those are guys that I can see potentially being there around 63. More than likely, half these guys are gone. But if one of those guys are still there, I would love to see the Chiefs take a stab at those guys at 63. 74 is where it gets interesting, because 74 is where I think the Chiefs are going to be really looking at running back, because there's still going to be some names on the board there, and that's where I think they're going to be. I think they go running back here.
You think they go that early?
I do, because they want to get an explosive guy, and they don't want to sit around and wait for everyone else to get their 3-4 chances at running backs before they do. I think they take a running back within the first 4 picks, their first 4 picks. So I have either Caleb Johnson, Ollie Gordon the second, Cam Scatabo, Damian Martinez, who the Chiefs actually, I think, had a meeting with from Miami. They had a meeting with Damian Martinez. Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, who, by the way, has been getting nothing but comparisons from who? Brian Westbrook. Who did Brian Westbrook play for? Andy Reid in Philadelphia. I'm just doing the math here. And then, of course, you and I's favorite, Devin Neal. I don't know if Devin Neal would go that high.
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't. He'd probably be a
won't.
4th-round pick. But if he's still sitting there and these other names are gone, I still think the Chiefs shouldn't budge from their idea of getting guys, I know we're in Kansas, so of course we're talking Devin Neal, but you can't find a weakness in his game. And I think that he is a true franchise running back and will be a franchise running back in the NFL for 6, 7, 8 years. So those are the guys that come off my board immediately at 74. 95. Now, see, I know probably people are confused right now because I've been such an offensive line guy, and I'm three picks deep, and I haven't taken an offensive lineman. I'm changing it here at 95. I am taking an offensive tackle, and we talked about this last week with _Ťaža. I said this is where I'm going to probably entertain going after a guy because once you go too far into the draft, it's just kind of it's a flyer pick. But I still think you can find value in a backup or a potential starter in the future in the 3rd round. I think you can find those guys because, for Christ's sake, Trevor, the Chiefs just signed Jalen Moore to a multi-year deal. He was a fifth round pick. I think they go Ozzy Trapilo right here out of Boston College. I think
you can find an Allegretti kind of guy, or
it's a 7th-round pick. Those are so rare, and he's a guard.
Yeah,
I think the Chiefs are their first offensive lineman they drafted this draft will be a tackle
for sure.
And I think Ozzy is the first one that comes off my board. I also think guys like Wyatt Millum, who we know out of the Big 12 with West Virginia, super fundamental, super clean player. Arms aren't the longest, so maybe that isn't a guy that Andy Reid wants. But there's, other names like Jalen Travis or Logan Brown out of Kansas as well. Humongous tackles, dude. Like, these guys are all 6'7", 6'8". Like, I would love nothing more for the Chiefs to go and get themselves an absolute monster at left tackle if Jalen Moore doesn't work out, or, they play him for 2 years and we don't want you to be our future. Yeah. We're going to go with this kid. And even we saw in the comments, next year's draft class for offensive tackle is loaded. Yep. So the Chiefs don't want to go early with tackle. Yeah, you just take a guy that can maybe be your backup right tackle or a swing tackle, or maybe your starting right tackle next year when Juwan Taylor's gone. Once Juwan Taylor is gone, this kid with the 95th overall pick can maybe become your starting right tackle, or like I said, just a depth piece, and then you go tackle again in the draft next year. So that's where I have the Chiefs going their first 4 picks. It starts to become a crapshoot, so I have names, but I'm just gonna go position after this. So at 112, this is where I have the Chiefs going cornerback. We talked about right in the middle of the draft, right? This is right in the middle of the draft, right here, right in the early stages of the 4th round. I think this is where the Chiefs go and get themselves in the next stud, because we know one thing Brett Veach does very well in the draft: he drafts the shit out of cornerbacks and DBs as a whole. I think he goes and gets himself an absolute stud, whether it's like a Zay Alexander or there's so many. Like I said, I have names.
And those positions are getting deeper and deeper every year.
Every year.
Yes. And there's so many good DBs now. They're evolving.
Every corner that I had marked on my board was 6 foot plus, 195, 200 pounds. Those are Spags guys.
And look where he's found them over and over every year.
Right. And again, I know you guys don't like to hear it, but they do need insurance for Trent McDuffie. Because we don't know what the future is.
And I don't think there's a better late round value position than DBs.
Maybe running back.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know
Probably
what I mean?
still running back.
Yeah.
As far as bang for your buck, but the shelf life defense.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no position better to draft later or mid to late, especially in Kansas City. So this is where I think they go cornerback, because I do think there's going to be some guys that kind of slide, because to your point, there are a list of guys in cornerback that are going to probably be in the 2nd to 4th rounds that in any other draft would probably go in the 1st and 2nd. So this is where I think you'll see Brett Veach take a stab at corner. At 114, because they only picked 2 picks later in my mock draft, they go defensive line again, because I think there's still going to be some value there in the 4th round. So I think the Chiefs will take another defensive lineman here to just kind of add some insurance. At worst, becomes a special teamer or a backup player here. But that's like I said, during the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, you're kind of taking just flyer picks at this point.
Yeah.
But at 133, this is actually, I'm going to shock you here, Trevor, and you guys may not believe this. I have the Chiefs taking a wide receiver. There's going to be names that I don't think a lot of people really know.
That's earlier than I thought you would go there.
But I do think at 133, there's going to be a guy like maybe like a Jalen Royals that is I think just would be perfect for this offense. 6 foot, 6'1", 200 pounds. can play the slot receiver, can play outside, good speed, really good hands, good route, good hip control. This is the kind of guy that I can maybe see the Chiefs, if he's still there.
You think they need to go there with Sky Moore looking like he's putting in all that work this offseason?
I'm going to turn your mic off. I might flip this thing.
Sky Moore is having a resurgence right now.
You better stop that.
He might catch a ball this season.
You might.
Sorry, man.
Yeah,
sorry.
No. So this is where I have the Chiefs actually going wide receiver. I was dabbling with some other positions, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay true to what I said on Twitter the other day, where I said there are 5 positions the Chiefs need more than wide receiver in this draft. Because I heard the nonsense, and I'm still hearing the nonsense about, well, maybe the Chiefs will take Luther Burden. Guys, Luther Burden's not going to be there late enough for the Chiefs to even entertain the thought. Luther Burden's going to go in the top 15, 20 picks. And we can stop having this damn conversation.
Yeah,
we got to stop having this conversation. I'm not calling these guys out. I love these guys. They're friends, and they're very, very intelligent, far more than I am. But Jay Binkley said the same thing, and my guy Seth Kaiser said the same thing about, hey, we should be looking at Luther Burden. No,
most of those guys have a lot of hype behind them. Don't get to the bottom of the first.
And even if they did, Luther Burden is not a guy that you should take because he's not a can't miss prospect.
Yeah.
It's not like and I keep saying
there's
I told
no real
FOMO
there. Yeah.
Yes, I told Shaggy Shane this very thing. I said if he was a Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss type prospect, yeah, you take him.
Kind of a freak.
Yeah. If he was to slip through the cracks and he's a 6'4", 215-pound receiver, yeah, you got to take him.
Yeah.
Even if he's not your biggest need or, the whole BPA thing. But my whole draft is based on BPA. Is that if it's not that big of a difference from 31 to 40, you take the BPA and you get as many BPAs as possible. That's why you trade back and do these things. So don't sit back or just sit back and say, well, if Luther Burden falls to us, we'll take him. No, because I think there are going to be other players of positions that you actually do need that can still be qualified as the BPA with Luther Burden still on the mat. And I like Luther Burden. I think he could be potentially the best receiver in this draft. But that says something about this particular draft class. That maybe this isn't the best wide receiver draft class. Maybe, sit back. Because like you said, you signed Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
You got Rashee Rice for a couple more years on his rookie deal. You have Xavier Worthy in his second of 5 years on his rookie deal.
He's going to take off this next season.
You know what I'm saying? And you signed Juju Smith-Schuster. Nico Remigio's on the team. That's 5 guys right there. You know what I mean? So I don't see the immediate need, but I still took a stab at 133 for a wide receiver because you never know. Hollywood Brown, this might be his only healthy year with the Chiefs, and then he goes and signs somewhere else. Juju may retire, go somewhere else. Maybe they don't pay Rashee Rice. I don't know. But right now, we do know they have a nucleus here that's good enough, at least much better than what they've had over the last 2 years.
This season.
Yeah. So I don't think that wide receiver needs to be taken any earlier than where I got it. 184, I'm going back to offensive line. It's more likely going to be an interior guy. The good thing about this draft, Trevor, is that there's a good number of interior offensive linemen. I looked at all the reviews. I went to multiple websites throughout the last month, and there's about 7, 8 interior offensive linemen that could go within the first 5 rounds. That's a pretty decent number. So I think the Chiefs won't abandon, because even though I'm confident in Kingsley, I know you're confident in Kingsley. I think a lot of people will be confident in Kingsley, and even Tasia last week suggested that he may not be done at left tackle. We'll see. But regardless, I think the Chiefs are still going to want to invest a little bit in interior offensive line because Hunter Norzad, CJ Hansen are still there, but maybe they find somebody who's better than those guys, and they beat them out as a backup. At this point, you're looking for backups at 184. So I think they revisit the offensive line conversation. They bring another guy in that can be a versatile guy that can maybe play left guard, right guard, maybe a little center, as a backup. Who knows? I think they're going to go and get themselves a versatile guy there. 226, I don't think they abandoned this position completely. It is a late pick, but I think they can find value at this position. It's a linebacker. Now, obviously, they have their linebackers locked up, at least for the this season. But like I said before the show, or before we started getting into this, we don't know the future of Drew Tranquil here in Kansas City. We don't know the future of Leo Chanel. Obviously, we're expecting the Chiefs to bring back Leo Chanel for the at least another 3 or 4 years. He's still young.
Said, for the special teams reasons
too. He's 24.
Very valuable guy.
Freak of nature. I think honestly, overall, he's the Chiefs' best linebacker. As crazy as that sounds.
That's what I'm saying. Versatility for sure.
Nick Bolton's their best tackling linebacker.
He's the smartest for sure.
But Leo just has so much more to his game, and I think that he's and he's even younger than Nick Bolton.
He has things you can't measure.
Right.
He has the intangibles.
Yes, he has the intangibles.
Yeah.
So I think that Drew, being the veteran he is, I think he'll be 30 this year. Being the veteran he is, he'll play this season, and then he'll probably be gone in 2026, which is why, like I said, take a stab at linebacker. At worst, he's a special teams guy. At 226, makes the roster. That's a hell of a pick. And then I finish off my draft with 2 more picks at 251 and 257. They're both defensive players. I have a third defensive lineman. Like I said, in my opinion, you never can go wrong by going interior or with the trenches. You want to draft as many trench players as possible on both sides of the ball. That's why I have 2 offensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen in this draft. And then I finish off at 257 with another defensive back. Whether that's a safety, whether that's a corner, or a guy that can play a little bit of both, we know that Brett Veach in those later picks can always find a diamond in the rough. I'm expecting him to use that last pick on a defensive back and finalize the 11 picks I have in order: defensive line, edge, running back, offensive tackle, cornerback, defensive line, wide receiver, offensive line, linebacker, defensive line, defensive back. How do you got it, Trevor?
Gotcha. So I knew you were going to have more of a complicated breakdown of, which is
only way to do it.
Awesome. So I kind of went contrarian, and I kind of just to give some contrast here to your take, I stuck with us not moving at all.
Okay.
I stuck with us just having what we have. This is not what I truly believe is going to happen. I do believe we trade back somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Hopefully they go more year route, because that's far more exciting for me. Just grabbing more of those middle round guys. But I stuck with what we have, with the 8 picks that we have currently. And with round 1, number 30 at the 31 pick, I take 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺𝙺. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to lose my mind, dude.
No. I'm actually going edge rush with our first pick at the bottom of the first. I don't have any names in particular, but there are some guys, as you had mentioned, at your edge rush positions that I just trust the Chiefs to make the right decision at that position. I am really, because we don't know what's going to, I know we love George Karlaftis. I know we love Trent McDuffie, and we've talked about, me and you, who would you rather pay? I think most of us wanted to pay the edge rusher at Trent, with George Karlaftis being the guy we'd probably pay if it came down to it. Yep. But we don't know if that's what the Chiefs are going to do. Right? If George is not here in the next couple seasons, maybe they need to take a chance on maybe finding a new edge rusher. And say, like Julie Gooley likes to say constantly in the chat, which I agree, just a reminder, Chris Jones is not getting any younger. Right. Are we going to find the next Chris Jones with this pick? Because he's more of a unicorn type player. Not every team has those kind of guys come once every decade or so. Right. So maybe we need to start establishing more of an edge rush based defensive line rather than having that staple in the middle, which is very rare for most teams to have. So I went edge rush there, man. I think we take the best edge rush available. At that bottom of the first there. Round 2 into the 62nd pick, I'm going defensive line. So boom, defensive line heavy right here off the top.
Love it.
I really want to, pun intended, tackle those positions, right? I want those guys to really, I want the Chiefs to really hone in and focus on the future of this defensive line, because we know how this team is built. We know how you win championships here. Is let Pat be Pat, let Andy Reid be Andy Reid, and let the guys on the offensive side really do what they've done over the years since they've been here, and figure that stuff out, and let the defense just continue to accumulate talent through the draft. So edge rush, defensive line, right off the first 2 picks in the first 62 picks. Round 3 at number 66, I'm going offensive tackle here.
Okay.
I know the Jalen Moore stuff, he's going to be the fill-in for now as far as what we're in. I know you mentioned Kingsley might not be out at tackle also. There's a lot of things in flux right now. We don't know. Is Kingsley going to be playing the guard? With Tooney gone now, the guard's kind of a mystery right now, what we're going to do with that vacancy. So I think throwing another tackle into the mix here, the round 3 is kind of a suspect place to take a tackle there, because that's kind of where it really starts to dwindle, and you're better off kind of just maybe waiting till the later rounds, take a shot on another guy. Sure. But I felt like tackle was the proper spot here at 66, because you never know, they could start to slip and fall into the later rounds or the early third or mid third rounds, and we can see what talent is left there. But I'm going tackle at 66. Second, third round pick at number 95. I'm going DB here.
Okay.
I like not waiting too long to go DB, and I do agree with our guy G Pick in the chat a little bit. Not that they're going to take anybody of super high of note, but I think mid to late third round pick, number 95. I think DB. I think there's a good maybe find another hybrid safety, because Veach loves that third to fourth round DBs, man. So I just feel like this is just a vintage Veach spot if we're going to stay put with our picks. To go DB there and find another guy to play along Hicks for the future, and to continue to accumulate talent at those positions that we dominate at. So I trust him there at that spot. Round 4, 133rd pick. I'm going RB here. I know you went a little earlier.
Yeah.
I think RB is going to slip so much, and they always do every single year. And I think this is a spot where they can go get a guy like Neal.
Yeah.
Devin Neal. I think he could fall to the 133rd pick for sure. I think that's very likely. So if we can get a guy like him, basically a full package kind of guy, a guy that we know that can, especially you pair him with Kareem Hunt and let Kareem Hunt work with him. That's the guy I really want, honestly. Devin Neal is the guy I want in this draft. So I'm hoping at that spot, that their 133rd spot, that we can get a guy like him.
Yeah.
Especially to solve a lot of red zone issues. He's a Kareem Hunt-esque kind of player.
Right.
Not as good of a pass catcher, but he can still catch the ball like Kareem Hunt does. Just a banger of a guy, and you get in the red zone, he's going to get in there somehow, some way. You give him 3 opportunities. So we need a guy like that. We need a guy that a young guy that can convert third and shorts. Just like Kareem Hunt. So I'm going running back there at the 133rd spot in the late 4th. Round 7. So we in the draft with our last 3 picks that are 7th rounders. So we didn't have a pick in the 5th and 6th if we stayed put where we are. The 226th pick in round 7, I'm going defensive line again. I think this is clearly a very defensive heavy draft. A lot of depth at this position. Chris Jones, again, to Julia Goulia's point, is not getting any younger. So I think taking at least throwing 2 darts on the board here at the defensive line. A lot of good depth here. I think this is where a lot of guys could slip. I mean, I know it's the end of the draft, it's 7th round, but still, you never know what you could find at this point of the draft. So taking another shot at defensive line makes a lot of sense for me here at 226. At 251, that's where I'm going to take a shot on a wide receiver. Not a great wide receiver draft. So if you're not getting like the top tier guys, in my opinion, it's kind of tough to really find, late round talent. But I think this is a good spot to take a chance on a guy. And I know we're going to bring in some UDFAs, of course. But I think taking a late round flyer on a guy who could even be a good special teamer, because look, we saw that with Nico. And Nico might become something more than that. So this could be another Nico situation, late round dart throw that could be a good spot player, spot starter at the wide receiver position, but also be maybe a good special teams guy for Tobe to have, that can play like Veach said in his quotes, on all facets of the game, wide receiver wise, being able to do it all. Those are very viable players and valuable players to have on your team. And then with the last pick at the 257th spot, I'm going guard here. Just add another depth, because like I said, the guard is like the most mysterious position right now with Tooney being gone. We don't really know how we're going to handle it. We're expecting Kingsley to step up, but we don't know, man. We don't know what's really going on. So taking in another dart throw at the end of the draft for a guard feels like a good thing to do. So I think, and then I didn't go linebacker in my predictions at all. And I understand I was wanting to kind of find a way to fit a linebacker in there if we did stay put, but I couldn't really find a spot to really pull the trigger on a linebacker. But I know that Brett Veach always brings in a slew of linebackers as undrafted free agents. Yeah. So he always likes to bring in guys to try out and maybe find some depth. But I do think that is one of our most fulfilled and complete rooms right now. So I didn't go linebacker, but outside of edge rush, obviously outside linebacker. But that's where I'm at, man. I ended the draft with the guard.
I think what's funny about it, though, is even though we drafted differently,
still valued positions.
I feel like a lot of the positions we still had, around the same areas. I thought that your draft was more than fair and realistic, probably even more realistic than mine, if we're being honest. The only hang up I have, man, of sitting put, is that humongous gap from the 4th round on.
Yeah.
I
know.
It's like, was it 70-something picks before they pick again? Like, I just don't see any real scenario where Brett Veach just sits there.
I don't think it happens either.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't. Yeah.
One way or another, he's trading back.
This is just how I just attack this as, if we did stay put, didn't do anything, this is how I would see us going at it. So that's I don't. In reality, I see something more similar to what you did, at least with one trade, maybe not the 2. Especially getting like maybe a 5th or a couple 5ths, and maybe a 5th and a 6th, finding a way to have a draft or a pick in every round at least, or except obviously the first round. Fuck the first round, we don't really care about that as much over here. But this was just more of like, if we did stay put, this is how I predict. This is kind of how I would want to attack position wise if we did only have the 8 picks.
Now, I will say this, guy. I know almost every mock draft now, and a lot of Chiefs fans, are of the belief that the Chiefs are going to go Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle, at 31.
Yeah.
If they sit back.
I wouldn't hate that either.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. I get it. The hangups and worries and concerns I do have about doing that, if they were to do that, is, well, for one, he had a serious knee injury last year that ended his season in October, very early in the year. So we got to make sure that he's going to be good on that knee. 2, we know that Andy Reid, when it comes to especially tackles, he likes them to have long arms. He doesn't have the 34-inch reach like Andy likes. He's got 33, so it's not like a huge difference, but he does have the 10-inch hands. That's good. He's very fluid. His feet are very fluid.
And it's such a risky position to draft that.
It
in
is
the first round too. It just is.
And that's why
they don't work out as much as
that's why I didn't really. Well, obviously I didn't have the Chiefs taking him there because I don't know if I'm not certain he's going to be there at 31.
He could definitely go early.
But also, like we've talked about, if you're taking a guy in the first round at that position, you're hoping they're going to be, I mean, let's be real, a damn near immediate impact.
Yeah.
And if you're drafting Josh Simmons, he's not going to be an immediate impact because you just signed Jalen Moore and you have Juwan Taylor still under contract. You're not moving off him this year. So at best, Jalen Moore goes down or doesn't play well, and then Josh Simmons plays, or he's sitting a year. And I got to know from people, like, because again, if the Chiefs are sitting at 31, that means they're not going to be getting multiple early to mid-round picks. Are you guys willing to sit there at 31 and take a tackle and have him sit all year and not get those picks that could be helpful to this year as well? Because like I said at the beginning of the show, the Chiefs have to look for not just this year, but for years beyond. That's where Simmons comes into play. But the 2025 season has to matter too.
Yeah.
And if he's not playing, he's not effective on this team, and you're not getting additional picks, that is costly to me.
I do see a likely situation though with them moving that 2020 that pick for next year that they got from Tooney.
Yeah.
The Tooney move. I do see them moving that.
And that would be great, but it's even that those a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
It's not like you're moving into
But there's some
third.
shitty teams, man, that want to accumulate draft picks, like a Panthers or something like that. They want to make a move.
Ironically, that's who I'd trade with.
Of course,
mid-round.
It makes the most sense or the Jaguars or teams like that are kind of like in a weird place where they think they have their guy, but they still have a lot of things to figure out. The Saints, like you said,
they want to
teams
build
like
around
that.
him.
Yeah, they want to accumulate a shit ton of draft picks and really establish and rebuild and try something new and pivot. So that would make a lot of sense for them to move that pick.
Exactly. So that's, again, I think Josh Simmons is one hell of a prospect. I wouldn't be pissed off if the Chiefs go and get him. But again, I have my concerns, and my vision board is I want to see the Chiefs, and I'm so dedicated to it, I'm hell-bent on it, in fact. I want to see them have as many picks as possible. And I think 11 picks would be amazing. I would have I wouldn't be able to stand up for a while if the Chiefs did that. I mean, 6 to midnight's putting it mildly. Because, I mean, just 11 picks for Brett Veach, I mean, that's terrifying for the league.
Yeah.
Because what he would basically do is flip his roster. I'm telling you right now, if the Chiefs have 11 picks in this draft, I'm expecting him to hit 5 to 6 of them. That's how confident. Like, I worry sometimes,
especially defensive linemen in this draft.
Yes, I worry about Brett Veach when it comes to contract conversations because I don't know if he's the best at that. I'm just being honest, but I know what he's great at, and it is drafting. He's gotten so damn good at it, and I know this isn't going to happen every year. Because some draft classes, you want to go and get the early guys. You want to get those early guys. But then there's some draft classes like this where you're like, let's just go and get a bunch of picks.
Well, and to the people's point, though, I think that makes it a valid suggestion that he might go offensive lineman, left or tackle with that first pick is because of how aggressively he's been trying to solve that left tackle position. Obviously, getting Jalen Moore, going and getting other guys, Humphreys and guys like that were trying to fill that role this past season.
Right.
Kingsley didn't work out. He's been trying to figure this out. So I mean, maybe taking another shot with our first pick would make sense, or would be something that Brett Veach would do. So that's why I understand why the people are kind of on board or predicting that that's going to be the case.
You remember where I've been for the last couple of years. That was
just
exactly
overwhelming
where I
that
was.
position. And
The problem though is this is just simply not a draft that have those types of tackles. Like Will Campbell was that guy I was looking at. And I was like, Chiefs got to go trade up and get him. We don't even know if Will Campbell's going to be a tackle in the NFL.
Right.
We're hearing that he might move to guard.
That happens very frequently. Yeah.
We don't have, what I'm saying is there's not like these blue chip left. Like last year, there was like 6 of them.
Yeah.
This year, they're not there. And what needs to happen, there needs to be like that, like perfect timing for the Chiefs where they have, 9 to 10 picks and they need that left tackle and they can trade 2 or 3 of them and still have a bunch of picks and they go get that left tackle. That's just not this draft. They don't have those picks this year. So if they were to trade up for a guy, first of all, who the hell is it? And second of all, how many picks you giving up? Because I don't want the Chiefs to have 5 more picks for the rest of the draft. That's going to suck. Even if you get the additional 5th, that's 6 more picks, and the additional pick you got was a 5th rounder. Like, that's what you want when you already have like 8 or 9 picks. Oh, and we got a 5th rounder. You know what I mean? Like, that's not when you only have 5. So I'm just looking at this. I'm trying to look at this through Brett Veach's eyes and through his tendencies. And I don't see that tackle unless the Chiefs do, and they're just, like I said, smoke and mirrors playing it. I don't see that tackle in this draft. Next year, it looks much more promising. Last year, it looked much more promising. And even with it being promising last year, the Chiefs waited till the 2nd round to get Kingsley. So it's just like, this definitely ain't that draft.
Yeah.
If they were ever going to trade up, it would have been last year or next year. If we're talking 2026, I'm like, bro, I'm not budging. They got to go get a tackle. They got to go get a left tackle. Especially with Juwan Taylor coming up the books, they're going to need a right tackle too. That's why I have them getting a guy in the mid rounds, because I think that guy can become that right tackle, because we have seen that happen, where guys in the mid rounds become starting right tackles in this league. 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks even. We've seen that happen. It happens more frequently. Left tackle's a different animal. That's why I think that when the Chiefs swing at that left tackle, and they will eventually, it's going to have to be a top 14 to 16 pick. And they're going to have to trade up for that guy. That guy's just not there for me in this draft, at least realistically. No. There are guys like M'Baku, I think that's his name, M'Baku. He's going to be a top 6 pick. Chiefs ain't getting him. You know what I mean? They'd have to sacrifice over half their draft class to get him, if not more. So that's why I'm where I'm at, man. And I think that a lot of people understand the predicament the Chiefs have. It's the price you pay for being great. When you're winning so much, bro, you can't rely on, we have the 11th overall pick.
Winners take risks, man. Yeah. Period.
Yeah, and when you're in the latter stages of the 1st round, moving off of it, like I know that the FAU pick was something we liked, but if they would have traded out of the 1st round, I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, good. You get more picks and you're getting more stabs at 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know who my GM is. Yeah. So I just don't want to see that happen again. Because let's be real, FAU has not worked out so far. Maybe he will, or maybe he won't.
This is the season really to make. Oh,
this is the moment of truth
for sure. He's looked good as he progressed as the year went on last year, and then even in the playoffs he made a couple plays. Right. So we'll see. But I mean, 1st round picks are just very overrated in my opinion. Kind of always have been.
Well, that late, yes.
Oh yeah. But yeah, man. I think we both kind of like the same positions.
Yes.
Definitely would like to go your route and collect more middling round kind of guys, because that has always been the sweet spot for Brett Veach. But we'll see, man. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you guys know where we stand on this thing, and we don't want to hog the whole show. So let's get to the people, Trevor. What are the people in speaking asking for, or what are they asking us?
We got plenty. So off the top rope, we got our guy Shaggy Shane. Remember when we had the Chiefs' current backup left tackle Ethan Driscoll on Arrowhead Allies last May when he signed with KC after not being drafted? Ethan is 6'8". Do you like him in 2025?
I like him for what his context is. I like him as a, breaking case of emergency kind of guy.
Giant man for sure.
Yeah, he's very, very big dude, and he's had some playing time. But are you asking me, do I like him as a potential starting left tackle or right tackle? No, I don't. I don't think he's that guy. I think he could be a guy. I think he could be a guy that makes a roster. Backup swing tackle, because like you said, he's big, freakishly huge,
like a Mekhi Becton type body type.
But I just do not envision him being a starting player for a team like the Chiefs. Maybe a team out there that is trying to build their way up, trying to get themselves going. Yeah, he'd probably get a chance on a team like that. But for the Chiefs, knowing who he's protecting, I'm not putting him in that position. So no, I like him as a backup for sure.
Yeah, we just don't know. I mean, like I said, he was undrafted. Just it's kind of a jag at this point. I'm like, yeah, he's a dominant looking person. His frame, he's a huge person. But
and he was cool as hell too. The interview was fun.
Yeah. So but I mean, as far as potential starter, nah. I mean, that's just he's a depth guy at this point. If even that, honestly, he hasn't really seen much playing time. But hopefully, I mean, I'm always rooting for anybody, man. Like I've always said on this show, like I do not care about the name on the back of the jersey. more than I care about who's the best man for the job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know we can get attached to people, but I hope the best for anybody who earns the spot earns the spot.
Yeah.
Dustin Orton, speak it. Who will be our wide receiver one? I know suspensions are a worry with Rice, but wanted to know your thoughts on the wide receiver order between Rice, Worthy, and Brown.
Well, it's simple for me right now. The Chiefs don't have a legitimate wide receiver one at this time because we don't know. If Rashee is playing week one, we know who wide receiver one is.
Yes.
It is Rashee.
As far as targets, catches, yards, all those things. Yeah.
I think what the Chiefs have right now is a collection of high-level wide receiver twos. I think that both Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy are high-level twos. That's where I stand right now. So if you're asking me who's going to get the number one targets from that perspective, it's probably be Hollywood Brown. He's a veteran. Patrick Mahomes trusts him, and I think Xavier Worthy is still developing. I'm not saying he hasn't developed. He's a stud. We all know now that Xavier Worthy is a legitimate wide receiver in the NFL. There's not debating that. Yeah. But he has less than 20 games of experience in his NFL career. So I think that you're going to get Hollywood Brown at 27 years old to be that guy to kind of carry that load a little bit. And so we'll see if his body holds up. But, you still have a Travis Kelce. You still have Noah Gray. You have other guys that are going to offset that as well. Juju Smith-Schuster. Those are going to be some veteran guys that Patrick will rely on. And this is also, Trevor, not to go too far into this is also why it's imperative the Chiefs go and get themselves an impact back. Because they also want to have a guy out of the backfield they can throw to. Because Kareem's 30 now. Not going to be that guy. Yeah. Pacheco has never been that guy. So why don't you go get a dude in the first 100 picks that can become a stud day one? Because we know running backs develop pretty quick in this league. They have to.
Yeah.
So why don't you go get that guy that can go and catch you 35 balls this season? Why not? You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the track record of teams that have been successful and have sustained success, especially not many teams have done it to the magnitude of the Chiefs and the Patriots and the Steelers over the years and things like that, teams that have had that kind of sustained success, none of them really needed a wide receiver one. You know what I mean? That's never been it's kind of an overrated thing. A lot of teams that suck or that are always maybe a playoff team, they have no offense, but a lot of these the Vikings and teams that are always kind of early exit teams, they've had great talent on their wide receiver rosters. They've had the Justin Jeffersons, the Giants had OBJ and all these teams, you know what I mean? So it's is that so valuable? That's more of a fan thing. The fans want that superstar receiver. But when it comes to wins and losses and sustained success, we don't need to have that consistent wide receiver one. Even though we've had Kelce basically being that for the last several years as the number one go-to target and the guy that's basically unstoppable when you need him to be there. He's always there. But I mean, if we have a collective of three guys that can go out there and just be it actually makes your offense less predictable.
Right.
Because we've seen the Vikings get, double teamed on Justin Jefferson and take him away as much as they could from the game, and it makes that team struggle to figure it out because they're so reliant on that one guy. I actually prefer the way the Chiefs have been doing it. Offense hasn't been that great the last couple of years compared to what it's been before. Obviously, when we had Tyreek and Travis Kelce in their peak, that was just a dominant force of an offense there. But I like what we're doing with Rashee and what we have possibly in Worthy being two totally different kind of receivers that can do two totally different things, and you can rely on them in different ways. I prefer that angle, honestly, than having, that superstar, just Malik Neighbors drafting a guy like that and just funneling targets to him all day long. And it's not bad teams do that. You know what I mean? Or mediocre teams that are early exit teams. Teams that are consistently winning all the time don't need to have that superstar. I mean, look at the Patriots. You know what I mean? The best year they had with the receiver when they had Randy Moss, they didn't win it all. But they won several Super Bowls with Julian Edelman as their number one receiver, basically. Yep. You know what I mean? So obviously Gronk being the main target there, but still, I don't really care about the wide receiver one thing, man. To be honest with you, because I remember my guy Kadarius Toney was claiming he was going to be the wide receiver one a couple seasons back, and that didn't work out too well either. Dustin Orton, speak it. Lots of traction online about moving up in the draft. Think there will be a quality left tackle still in the 20s. I doubt we move out of the 20s.
Well, the Chiefs aren't in the 20s. They're 31. But
right.
I think you're talking about maybe trading up into the 20s.
Right.
Look, the only way that I see that happening is if one of the two true tackles in this draft were to somehow fall that far down. They just never do. I don't ever want to be the guy that sits here and say that things can't happen, but it doesn't happen for a reason because, one, this tackle class is so scarce with true talent at the left tackle position that it'd be moronic for any of those first 15 teams to let those guys slip.
Yeah.
And even if they were to get into the 20s, like the Chiefs are going to have to sacrifice multiple picks to get up there. Now, if you were to get one of those guys, that'd probably be worth it for the risk, but you're still left with, 5-6 picks. And I just don't think that's the kind of draft class that Veach wants to have. I don't think there's a left tackle that makes it worth that to happen in this draft that that you can actually realistically get by moving down 5 to 7 spots. It just, to me, is not a realistic scenario. And trust me, guys, I have been trying. For the last 4 months, I've been trying to do like all the trade scenarios where the Chiefs can trade up and still have enough picks and do all these things and who they trade for. I've been doing all those scenarios. My brain freaking hurts from it. It isn't there.
The Bills might give us a deal. That's possible. You never know. I mean, they might figure it out.
That's only 2 spots.
They'll figure a way out. Julia Gulia, is it possible Veach is looking to next year for the tackle? And do we know what that class has to offer?
Yes, that to me is the more sensible way of looking at this, because not just because of that. And I will be truthful with you. I don't know a lot of the names. What I will say though is that from everything we've been told and heard and what I've read is that is a much better class just based on talent alone than this one, because of the fact that guys are longer, bigger, stronger, more gifted at those positions than guys that are in this draft class. Like I said, a lot of the guys in this draft class are going to become guards. It's not that they're, shitty players. It's just that their body types match the guard position more than being a tackle. In college, they can be a tackle, but in the NFL, they're more guards. And this happens all the time. It's a very natural transition, guys, in the NFL. So it's not some unforeseen thing. I think it's more sensible also in the fact that you saw the way that Brett Veach handled the offseason by going and signing a multi-year deal to a left tackle from a team from the 49ers who, by the way, didn't want to see Jalen Moore move off because they know, they know that Trent Williams is old and he's had some issues, health and personal, and they don't know how committed he is to the game anymore. And Jalen Moore stepped in, and according to every beat writer I've read and heard from the Niners, they loved Jalen Moore. Is he a full-time starter? I have no idea. He's played 12 games in his career. I have no idea. But I do know that the Niners really liked having him. So that's always a good sign. And I think that Brett Veach went and got themselves a guy that they believe in enough to give 2 years to. But I like Tasia said last week on the show that really did resonate with me. And I didn't realize how much sense it made until he said it out loud. If Jalen Moore was like a for sure thing, and the Chiefs knew it, he's not getting a 2-year deal. He's getting a 4 or 5 year deal.
Right.
So that is why I'm still very much of the belief that the Chiefs are going to be hedging their bets and are looking at the 2026 class going, okay, how do we go and get, the second best left tackle in this draft class or the third? How do we get one of those top guys? That's where I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive because, like I said, no draft class is created equally. I think that Brett Veach can handle this one completely the opposite way that he handles next year's. We don't know. All I do know is that this draft class just is rather underwhelming at that position.
Julia Gulia, are you comfortable with our safety group, or does Veach grab one in this draft?
I still think there's a chance because, like I said, my last pick of the draft was a DB, so that means I'm open for the possibility as a safety. I do think, though, they're going to be good at safety because they still have Brian Cook. They just signed Mike Edwards. Jamari Connor plays both positions, both corner and obviously Jaden freaking Hicks. I think they're good. If you have 3 or 4 guys you can name off the top of your head, I think you're all right. So, yes, I think they're good. I do.
Julia Gulia again, 13 first round grades. It's definitely BAP or trade back.
I think it's both. I think that if you're going BPA, which for those who don't know what that means, best player available, if you're going that route as the Chiefs, then trade out of the first round. Seriously, think about that. Like, if you want to go with the best player available, get as many of those guys as possible.
Collect value.
Yes. Like, get as many picks as possible and just keep doing that. Keep saying, hey, we had this guy on our board. He's there still available at 63, 66, 95, 133, wherever it's at they're drafting. Get him and get as many of them as possible. Like our guy Teju was saying last week about how, yeah, you can go get a guy that's 70 or 75 rating that is at a position of immediate need, or you can get a guy that's a 95 that may not be for this year but will be next year, and you just keep getting guys like that. That's how you do it. So yeah, man, because injuries happen, free agency happens, things of that nature happen. So I think that's how they're going to handle this draft. Yeah, so I definitely think that it's going to be both BPA and trading back. To me, it's a cohesive thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing that works together in unison.
For sure. Julia Gulia, over under Chiefs take more than 2 defensive tackles.
Well, you and I both agree that they're gonna take 2 or more. I think that's the right way of going about it, especially if my scenario plays out where they go and get themselves 9+ picks. I think if they get themselves 9+ picks, they're going to take multiple stabs at the defensive line. That's not even including edge rush, because we know they play the 4-3 style defense, which means that their edge rushers are DNs. So DNs, I think, are also going to be a position of immediate need for the Chiefs. You have that as your first overall pick.
Yep.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think there's some really good edge rushers in this draft class. I think the Chiefs can go and get themselves one at 31 or 40 or wherever they end up trading back if they do.
Right.
So yeah, I think that with edge rush included, I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs take 3 or 4 players at defensive line in general, both D tackle and DN.
I think it makes the most sense in my personal opinion.
Yeah, give Chris Jones, like I said last week, George, I fantasize about it, where prime Chris Jones is sitting next to some 22-year-old stud. Like, imagine that, lining up with, George Karlaftis, you got a Mike Dana or Charles Omenihu,
Yep.
and then you got this badass rookie kid and Chris Jones. Like, that is scary to think about. I love that thought, man.
Absolutely. Tony Russell, what's up,
Tony's
fellas? Yeah, what's up, Tony? What's up, fellas? Been out a while. Let the chips fall where they may. I got us at a B grade draft if everything goes right.
Well, Tony, you're a much deeper predictor than I am, because I can't give a grade yet for a draft that I don't know.
Yeah.
If
As
everything
far as
goes
maybe his
right,
mocks,
I
yeah.
mean, I guess I would need to know what the definition of right is, because I think there's a lot of ways the Chiefs could go. And like I said, I think the best one is to trade back. I'm assuming Tony isn't doing that. The biggest reason why, like I said, is because, one, the Chiefs are so far back in the first round, and I don't think, and I agree with Veach, there's not enough first-round grades in this draft to justify staying at 31. And 2, the Chiefs have such a gap in their day 3 picks. It's almost like they have to trade back in some form, or to go and get picks at the 120s, the 130s, or the 140s. They need some picks in that area because they have none, and they need them. So if everything goes right, yeah, I agree, Tony. But I can't give it a letter grade yet. I'm hoping it's more than a B, to be honest.
Yeah. Julia Gulia, which position group besides quarterback and tight end does not get addressed in the draft?
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but like kickers, punters.
I think linebacker is definitely a spot that
Linebacker's
could
probably
be
on the bottom of their list. Safety, I think, is going to be at the bottom of the list as well. But outside of that, I think that every single position is going to be addressed.
And I don't think tight end is a spot that they could definitely take a tight end at some point.
I think the only way that
If they
happens
trade and
is
get
the
more
kid
picks.
from Penn State drops.
Sure.
And I don't see that happening. He's not a Brock Bowers by any means.
They've had some visits with several tight ends.
They have. I think they still believe in Jared Wiley.
Yeah, I do too.
They signed a multi-year deal with Noah Gray, and Travis Kelce's cap hit is not low.
Yeah.
So
This might not be the year.
And they just signed Tunyon.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of dudes in that room. I just don't see them taking any tight end of value in this draft. Next year, yes. I definitely see that. But right now, tight end is just not. I agree with Julie. I just don't think that's going to be an area that they even, unless, like I said, some freakish dude falls and they're like, okay, we can't miss on this dude. Like, I just don't see it happening.
All right, last question is as of right now until I get a couple more in here. Julia Gulia, I heard certain talking heads saying we should have stuck with OBJ. 2 things, Orlando Brown Jr. 2 things. 1, his inability to stop a bull rush got Burrow hurt. 2, not at the money since he gave him. Thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, Julie, I'm gonna have to disagree. I think that Orlando Brown was much better than people acted in Kansas City, based on the fact that, 1, I give him a lot of breaks because, 1, he was a right tackle for his entire career. He wanted to play left tackle because, first of all, he wanted to honor his father, the late Orlando Brown, who played left tackle as well. But I thought coming from a run first offense and coming to a pass heavy offense, he played pretty damn well. And the thing that, I love how everyone always counts the hits or the misses and not the hits, Trevor. Orlando Brown was a dude that kept Patrick Mahomes' jersey pretty fucking clean in the biggest game of that year when they won the Super Bowl, and they were going against the number one pass rush since the '85 Bears, and Patrick Mahomes didn't get touched by a guy that rushed against Orlando Brown. So forgive me for disagreeing, but I disagree because I think Orlando, and I know this is like ancient history at this point, but there's no coincidence to me that the Chiefs have their biggest struggle since losing Orlando Brown has been where? Left tackle. You know why?
I don't think Julius' biggest hang-up is the money too, though.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
He still got himself the money in Cincinnati. And here's the other factoid that people forget. The Chiefs offered him not one, but two different $100 million deals. Now, the guaranteed money was the hang-up, but the Chiefs clearly believed in Orlando Brown because why? They traded a first-round pick for him with a direct competitor in the AFC and offered him that money. Like, I'm sorry, guys, but that tells me that I think Orlando Brown was much better than people say he was. I think he was much better. Did he have a problem at times with bull rush? Yes, but so do a lot of tackles. What you can't expect, here's the problem. I think people expect, you gave away first round for a guy. Oh, you're offering him this kind of money. He must be Trent Williams.
You're expecting perfection, yes.
No, not, guys, there's a reason why guys like Trent Williams and Willie Rofe and Jonathan Ogden and Orlando Pace, there's a reason why those guys were the greats, because there are not many of them. So sometimes you have to be okay with having a guy who's just the 14th, 13th, 12th best left tackle. Eric Fisher was never a great left tackle. He was just a good one. And what did the Chiefs do when he was there? They won a lot.
And you knew when he was not there.
Yes.
We saw how bad that was.
When Orlando left, what's happened since? They've had Dick at left tackle, dude.
Of bodies, yeah.
Yes. And it's been nothing but a clusterfuck that has kept the Chiefs back from being greater than even they are now.
We've had to resort to guards playing left tackle and then having to trade that guard away. So now we're even more in a hole.
So right. So I get it, guys. Like, you always want to have an elite left tackle, obviously. But like we've seen in the past, Patrick Mahomes can win with just adequate left tackle play. And that is what Orlando Brown was. He was adequate. And I think if Orlando Brown would have been here last year, I think they beat the Eagles. I think if he was in 2020, they beat the Buccaneers. That's kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, just having adequate left tackle play is what is the difference between the Chiefs winning and losing all the Super Bowls they played.
Yeah. Well, Patrick Mahomes never had top tier left tackle play in his career.
And he's had a different left tackle in every Super Bowl he's played
got
in.
3 rings on his hand.
Every Super Bowl he's played in, he's had a different left tackle. That is insane, dude. Yeah. He's had 5 different left tackles.
Come on, Veach. Figure it out.
Come on.
Stan Simmons, our guy Stan Simmons.
Hey.
What's going on, man? Some call him Captain Kirk. Some call him Stan Simmons. Hi. I'm late. Sorry. I have a question though. When will Arrowhead Allies resume?
Well, I'm not in charge of that. I can't really tell you when that is. I'm imagining we're probably going to have a reaction show to the draft. So you'll probably see us in the next week or so. But I mean, don't fear, man. Like once football's back and we're like talking training camp again and things like that, we will definitely be in full swing again on Tuesday nights. I've missed it. I ain't gonna lie to you guys, but I've also been enjoying the time off as well because we know that the NFL season is very demanding and very grueling for those of us that do content. So I can't say when, but I will tell you that you will be able to see us here every Saturday, man. So don't worry about that.
Next question. Didn't want to read this one, but I'm going to read it anyway, Stan. Stan Simmons. Basketball question. Paul Pierce, our friend, is saying that Steph should be considered the GOAT over LeBron James. Already know your thoughts, but I think Paul has a point, especially if the Warriors make another NBA final. I would love to hear that point.
Yeah, I'm not even going to react to that because, Stan, I love you to death, but there is no point to that. I'm not going to take the bait because I saw Paul say that too.
Yeah.
And all I will say to that is I want to thank Paul Pierce for proving my point that I've been saying for many years, that just because you played the game professionally doesn't mean you know a damn thing about the game.
Well, and there's no way he has a personal vendetta against LeBron.
Oh yeah, why would he?
No
it's
way.
not like LeBron didn't end 4 of his seasons. I'm not doing because what I hate doing, I hate being a detractor. Because when I feel like whenever we have these conversations, we have to sit here and like almost downplay what Steph is. But I'm not doing that. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He is one of the 12 to 15 greatest players I've ever seen in my life. But it's not even, I'm not even going to compare him to LeBron James. That's not fair. Because there is not a single comparison.
It's not fair to Steph.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we have the comparison, it's going to make him look like shit.
Yeah.
Because if you actually break it down and show the comparison between the two players, it's not even a comparison.
Yeah.
So I'm not I'm not even going to do that to Steph. Because that's just wrong. It's criminal. And anybody that actually wants to listen to Paul Pierce, like you said, Trevor, and not think that has something to do with what he feels towards LeBron and how he feels slighted because he couldn't beat LeBron when LeBron finally had an even playing field. Once LeBron actually had a running mate, the Celtics couldn't beat him. And he almost beat them even when he was by himself in his early 20s with the Cavs. Yeah. So just spare me. I'm not even – it's such a ridiculous thing we're doing here, man. Steph Curry is not even on the same platform as LeBron James. What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
Yeah, Steph is they had to go recruit Kevin Durant, who's the better player between the two of them, to go beat LeBron James. So think about that one for a second.
What are we even doing?
Yeah. Stan Simmons with the last question here. Final question. I'm planning a trip to KC this August. What's the #1 food destination that I must visit at least once or twice?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, bro. There's a lot of great barbecue joints, as we know, but there's also a lot of amazing Mexican food here, too. So
especially in KCK.
Bro, I'm telling you. And Stan, you need to hit us up, dude, because we need to link up, man, when you get to town. Trevor and I would love to hang out, man. I'll tell you this right now. When you're in town, if you hit us up, wherever you want to go to get food, it's on me, dude. So we'll definitely go hang out if you want to. If you're down to do that, we'll maybe have ourselves an unfortunate LeBron MJ discussion. But yeah, man, I would say off the top of my head, obviously Trevor and I, we are a big fan of Slaps.
Slaps Barbecue.
We think Slaps is one of the top tier dogs out here in Kansas City. Go to Slaps and get there right around 11 a.m. if you got time, because that's when the line really starts to kick in. You want to get their stuff immediately. Obviously, Joe's KC is it's the mecca out here, if we're being honest. My personal favorite still is Gates. I love Gates forever. I have an affinity for Gates. But yeah, man, those are the 3 top spots I'd probably say. I mean, obviously LC's is always a legit place. You can't go wrong. Wyandotte Barbecue over here by Trevor and I, we're right down the street from that place. Wyandotte Barbecue is a great spot if you're going out to the Legends. But if you're wanting to get some good Mexican food, bro, you go over to Southwest Boulevard, and you can throw a rock and hit one, and they're gonna hook you up with some of the best tacos you ever had in your life.
Well, I'm gonna throw out a couple of my personal comfort food favorite spots.
Yeah.
I think if you're in town, definitely go up to the Northland and check out District Biscuits.
Oh yes.
There are these biscuits. They make biscuit sandwiches. Some are breakfast sandwiches. Some are like chicken sandwiches. But my God, man,
why are we talking about this?
It's an incredible spot. I know District Biscuit, definitely check out that spot in the Northland on Armour Road. And then I'm gonna throw every chance I get as far as like comfort food. If you like wraps, if you like things like that, longboards is a must. You have to hit it up. Now, there's several locations, but if you like Hawaiian wraps or even like Hawaiian bowls or whatever, the Cabo beef is my favorite.
Anything's mine.
There's so many options up there.
619, dude. God.
But yeah, those are my 2 like comfort food spots if you want to try out some KC local businesses that I always love to support, with the Polynesian flair and with longboards, and then obviously with the the black owned community with District Biscuit up in the Northland. 2 great companies, great atmospheres, just good options, just some really good local food. Definitely recommend those 2, Stan, for sure, bro.
Oh, Nympha's. Nympha's is a great Mexican joint. And what's the place, Trevor, that we got the Mexican pizza?
That's Nunez Foods. Nunez Foods and KCK. Bonita Mochican, obviously, always. San Antonio's. El Pollo Rey. If you want some good ass chicken, get a whole bird.
People getting free promotions on our show, man.
Yeah, man. So those are some great spots that we just gave you some good nuggets. But yeah, definitely hit us up, Stan, if you're ever in town, bro. We'll show you some spots. Smoke a stogie, have a finger of whiskey or 2. Sounds good, bro. But that is it for the questions, man.
Awesome show, guys. We really appreciate you guys chiming in on the speaking segment of the show. Great interaction, honestly, man, all day today, man. I really like it. Julia was on a freaking tear today. I love it. Julia, bring all that, dude. We always love it when Julia's on the show, taking over, man. We appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you guys for being a part of it. Trev, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called?
Hold this L.
Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether those L's are friendly L's are not so friendly L's in the world of sports. We promise you, who's ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of motherfucking sports. Trevor, who's holding L for you this week?
All right, so you did touch on the Derek Carr, or not the Derek Carr situation, but the Saints being a trading partner with you in your scenario there, for good reason, because there's a situation going on over there with Derek Carr and the amount of money he's getting paid to possibly not even play this season. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this article real quick. A salary cap expert explains the ramifications of Derek Carr's shoulder injury for the Saints. The New Orleans Saints are in a bind with Derek Carr. If the quarterback truly can't play next season because of his shoulder injury, did the Saints know about the ailment when they chose to restructure him? And if they didn't, would that have impacted their decision? Those are among the many questions still unanswered as the Saints' drama with Carr continues to unfold. Where do the two sides go from here? From a cap perspective, as long as Carr is on the roster, nothing will change. But if the Saints want to move on, whether through trade or cutting him, there are salary cap ramifications to each move. To break them down, the Times-Picayune talked with NFL agent and salary cap expert 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺𝙴 about what's possibly next for the two sides. When can the Saints move on from Carr? The most likely scenario is in 2026 because Carr's contract is already guaranteed for this year. His reconstruction did not change the fact that he's set to make $40 million in 2025. Even though it's lowered to his cap figure to $20.4 million, the Saints would incur hefty charges if they wanted to move on before next season. Releasing Carr before June 1st, for instance, would leave $80.1 million on the books because it includes the remaining money converted into a signing bonus due to various reconstructures. For instance, in March, the Saints converted more than $28 million of Carr's $30 million salary into a signing bonus and spread that bonus over several years. When a player is released, the remaining charges are accelerated to 1 year. You're obviously not going to cut him before June 1st, 𝙭𝙾 said. If the Saints wanted to cut Carr after June 1st, they can manage that $80 million by spreading out the charges over 2025 and 2026. 𝙭𝙾 said Carr's cap figure would remain $20.4 million in 2025, and then the Saints would have $60 million in dead money in 2026 as a result of Carr's contract. Listen, man, I'm not a hater of Derek Carr by any means. This is just a bad luck of the draw for the Saints. Yeah. I mean, this is when we initially knew he got that, they made that move and the Saints paid him that money. I was like, listen, man, cool. Like, Derek Carr is a very average quarterback, maybe sometimes below average, if we're being honest, especially in big games when it matters most. Any kind of playoff scenarios, to be honest. I didn't think he deserved that kind of money, and I still don't. Obviously, this is a bad situation. I'm not going to kick someone when they're down dealing with an injury. But Derek Carr has kind of always been an injury-prone guy. You know, so you don't pay those kind of guys that kind of money, especially when there's so much talent nowadays coming into through the draft at quarterback position. The guys are kind of becoming more and more game time, big league ready more than ever, especially if you can build around them and give them a good scenario to walk into. Paying a guy like Derek Carr that kind of money with $40 million guaranteed this season, whether he plays or not, it just goes to show you how shitty this franchise has been ran for so long now at this point, outside of Drew Brees being the only savior. That's the best thing to ever happen to that franchise. Outside of him shadowing and overshadowing a lot of the nonsense that franchise has really done as far as collecting talent and maintaining and keeping talent there, being able to recruit talent. Derek Carr just took that bag, and I don't blame him at all, but the Saints franchise just continues to show that they don't know what they're doing, and their front office has been atrocious. So for that, New Orleans Saints leadership, do me a solid favor and hold this L.
NBA playoffs are starting. We're excited. And, at least some of us are because we pay attention to the game. We don't just have casual opinions on it. Yeah. I'm very excited about it because we're going to see, in my opinion, all the best players. This is one of those years where, like, it really has lined up to where the best teams are playing. Best players are healthy. It's working out really well. I'm going to keep this very brief, though, because we had one of the most horrendous polls I've ever, or one of the most horrendous top 10s I've ever seen. This is on Colin Cowherd's show yesterday. Trevor, go ahead and pull that up. This is ranking the best players in the postseason. Eight.
Yeah.
Look, you don't have to look. You don't have to be a fan of somebody to know better than this. Yes, he is 40 years old. but he's going to make NBA first team, all NBA first team. He has the most points, assists, and like third or fourth most rebounds of all time in postseason history. Most minutes played, most wins, 4-time champion, 4-time finals MVP. And you have him as the 8th player when he's averaging 24, 8, and 8 on 54% shooting. Look, I'm not going to fight you on Jokic. I'm not even going to fight you on Giannis. But literally, and I'm including SGA on this because SGA is great, but SGA has done
be the MVP.
Yeah, but he's proven dick when it comes to the postseason. Okay, nice. Let's contextualize this for a second, guys. The only 2 guys on this list, and maybe Luka, okay, because he went to the finals last year and he's been unreal.
The numbers are stupid,
even with Steph included, who is not a Finals MVP. Okay, this is a guy that struggles to be great in big moments. And this is me giving high praise to Steph Curry, but let's be real. Like Trevor said, they had to go get Kevin Durant to win half these rings because he knew LeBron was in that ass.
Well, I mean, Steph was also knocked out by the Sacramento Kings last year.
Thank you.
So LeBron would never.
And now Tatum is a champion as well. I'll give him his respect, but I am not taking Jason Tatum over LeBron James right now in the postseason. If I had to choose between these 2 players for a postseason run, I am not taking Jason Tatum.
Absolutely not.
I'm not taking Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
I'm not taking SGA. Maybe SGA will prove me wrong,
but
he hasn't yet. Okay? He has to build himself a postseason career for me to take him over the greatest player who's ever lived.
Yeah.
So I thought this was you notice I didn't even take the picture of when the whole 10 was on there because it didn't matter.
It didn't matter, yeah.
It's an absolute joke.
LeBron should be at 3.
This is so disrespectful.
Yeah.
This is absolutely disrespectful. If I had to make the list, it'd be Jokic, Doncic, then LeBron. Anybody, like I said, Giannis, we can have that conversation because Giannis, to his credit, has been great in the postseason in his career. Is a champion, is a Finals MVP. I can live with that if somebody wants to put Giannis over him. He's younger, more athletically gifted at this point of his career. Sure, we can work with it. But anybody else, I'm not. There's 3 guys on this list at max that I'm putting over LeBron James. This is an absurd list. I feel like Big Lebowski right now. I will not stand for this regression, man. It will not stand. I will not stand for it. This is wrong. So, Colin, massive fan of you. Jordan Schultz did great this week, all week with you, and we're going to get Jordan on the show one of these days. I've been talking to him. The dude's an awesome guy. But this is just bad. And for that, my guy Colin Coward's got to do me a solid here and hold this out. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's just bad. And you know what? You don't want to buy it, guys. Cool. Doubt him again. Doubt the 40-year-old who's doing things that no other human in history has ever done.
The fact that he's even at 8 for some people like that, it's obviously not a good take, but he's fucking 40 years old, and we're having the top 10 most valuable players in the postseason. Still a crazy thing to even fathom.
200 players that are going to be playing in the postseason. He's in the top 8. Yeah. So even that is insane. You're right. That's a good point. Yeah, between him and even in there.
Yeah, between Shai and Ant.
Yeah,
he's like almost double their age. They're almost their ages combined.
And by the way, guys, we're not a big Trevor and I are bettors, but we don't spend a lot of our show talking about it. But if you guys want to make money. The Lakers right now are plus 1,300 to win the title. So what I mean by that is if you were to put $10 on that, that's $140. Put $20 on it, that's $240. Just saying. That's some really good value for having 2 of the 8th best players in the postseason on one team. Just putting that out there. Anyway, man, this has been a fun show. Really appreciate all you guys that have been a part of it today. Anybody that just listened, we also thank you as well. But, man, don't hesitate to be a part of the show, man. It's for everybody. We don't want you to feel timid or intimidated or feeling like you don't have a take. No, man. If you're a sports fan, you have a platform. You have an opportunity to speak your mind, and that is right here. Be a part of this show, man. Like, if you feel like other shows don't make you feel as included, okay, well, then you don't feel like that here. I'm making that official here. Feel like you're a part of it because you literally are, and we would love to continue to make you feel like that. So get on YouTube, go to the Spoken Podcast, and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, all that cool stuff. But get in the comments when we're doing the show, man. Get on the comments after the show. Give us some feedback. What do you guys think about the show? What do you guys didn't get to talk about? You forgot I was thinking about this later on. Drop that in there, man. Let us know. We want that to be a part of the show. We want you to be a part of the show, and we really appreciate you guys for doing so. And that rhymed. That was awesome. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Wendler that puts all this together on the back end of things, the Red Tribe Cinema, for the entire Starcade Media family, I am Lance Twidwell, The Spoken. The Spoken episode 310 is done, finished, and finito. And so we're back here in 1 week's time. Crazy enough, we will be doing the show when the draft is wrapping up, per se, on that Saturday. Going to give you guys immediate reactions of what's going on still at the back end of the draft, which I am excited about. And we're going to give you guys our whole thoughts. Might even try to get a guest on to get some expert thoughts on the draft as well. But we're going to be giving you guys our thoughts. So stay tuned in 1 week's time. But until then, we out of this bitch.
Later.